Hi, everyone, and welcome to GRUFFtalk, where each week we take a deep dive into all the ways we can feel better, look better, live better, and age better. Today, I'm so excited. My guest is Dr. Gladys McGarey, who, at the age of 102, has just written an incredible book about how you can find health and happiness, whatever your age. I'm your host, Barbara Hannah Grufferman. Look, we all want to know the secret to leading a long, happy life, right? Yes, of course, right. So who better to ask than someone who is 102 years old and continues to thrive? My guest today, Dr. Gladys McGarey, is a trailblazing physician who has made significant contributions to the field of holistic medicine for many, many years. She's known as the mother of holistic medicine. Dr. Gladys has been a pioneer in combining traditional Western medicine with alternative healing practices to provide comprehensive care for her patients. For so many years, she has been practicing medicine for over 70 years and has been a vocal advocate for treating the whole person, mind, body, and spirit to achieve optimal health and well-being. Throughout her career, Dr. Gladys has received numerous awards and accolades for her groundbreaking work, and she continues to inspire and educate healthcare professionals and patients alike. In this podcast episode, we will delve into the life and legacy of Dr. Gladys, but we will also hear more about her 6 secrets to health and happiness at every age that she has written about so beautifully in her new book, The Well-Lived Life. Stay tuned. I'm honored to welcome Dr. Gladys McGarey, a pioneer in the field of holistic medicine. In fact, she is known as the mother of holistic medicine. She's a practicing physician, mother of 6, and author of The Well-Lived Life, a 102-year-old doctor's 6 secrets for health and happiness at every age. Welcome to GRUFFtalk, Dr. Gladys.
I'm so happy to be here.
So, Dr. Gladys, your life has really had its fill of challenges, a lot of opportunities, also filled with a great deal of love, and you've really created an amazing life for yourself, even with some of the challenges and heartbreak that you've had along the way. And you write about it also brilliantly in your new book, which is launching today when this episode airs. So I'm so excited about that, called The Well-Lived Life. So you're referred to as the mother of holistic medicine. So when you were thinking about having a life in medicine, which happened to you actually quite young, according to what you wrote in your book, what made you decide to go on the path of holistic medicine as opposed to traditional medicine?
Well, I never did understand anything other than holistic medicine because my parents were both osteopathic physicians who went to India to take their work into the jungles of North India. And so that's where I grew up, and that's what I figured medicine was all about. And so when I was 2, I said I was a doctor, and I had claimed the place with my dolls and everything else. But in medical school, the dean didn't quite understand what I was talking about, so she sent me to the psychiatrist 2 different times.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but it's something that, in what I believe true medicine is, because I don't think that conventional medicine is wrong. That's not what I believe. Mm-hmm. It has its place, but there are dimensions of healing that are really important. And that's what I claim as far as living medicine is concerned now, because I've stepped, my book before this one is the whole concept of medicine beyond holistic. Mm-hmm. In other words, you don't stop growing if you're learning, and you're learning more things. So I know more than I did when I was in medical school, but I knew more in medical school than, so it's come right along. It's called life.
It's called life. But you are referred to as the mother of holistic medicine.
Yes.
So what did you do in your career and in your life that caused that name to be applied to you? In other words, how did you promote holistic medicine way back when to have you have this wonderful label?
Well, way back when Bill McGarey and I started our practice in Ohio, we practiced there for 9 years, and then we came to Phoenix. And when we came to Phoenix, we heard about the Edgar Cayce work and all. So all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but that point, these other dimensions of healing were put into some kind of structure so that I could understand them. I knew in my gut what it was because I'd watched my parents do this kind of healing. Out in the jungles of India, they didn't have much technology. They had very little in the way of tools to work with, but they had the whole world to work with as far as love and compassion and understanding and that sort of thing. And so I was innately drawn to the reality that within each patient that I would be working with, there was the physician within them that I could contact. My colleague was right there to work with. And so there were
That's
other...
a beautiful premise, by the way.
Yeah, and I believe it. And so there were other physicians that were talking like that too. The whole Edgar Cayce picture fits into this. But Bill McGarey, my husband, was writing a newsletter that went out all the time, once a month, called Pathways to Health. And with that, we began to gather together people who were saying, yeah, how can we do this? We really need to. So there was a communication that was going on. And we met, so there were 5 of us that met in Hemet, California, at Evans. Anyway, it was a wonderful spa place, and put together what we thought were beginning to dream of as some kind of an organization where other physicians who thought like we thought could gather, and we could begin to be able to talk about the things that we thought were necessary.
Right. And it's really so wonderful that you and your husband, Bill McGarey, did this together as well. Yeah. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Very supportive. And you write about all of this in your book, The Well-Lived Life. And the GRUFFtalk listeners, when I started to promote this, that we were going to be having this conversation today, they were already pre-ordering your book. And I know that after listening to this, so many more will be getting your beautiful book. And you talk so eloquently about the chance meeting in India, meeting Gandhi. And then, of course, that wonderful story that is so lovely about the wounded elephant. I know everybody loves that story. It's just so beautiful and meaningful and very powerful, and how it really helped shape you. Oh, yeah. Such a simple thing. But for this conversation, and there's so much more in the book that is covered, so much more than we can cover completely today during this conversation. But so today I really want to focus on what you call your 6 secrets to health and happiness at any age. The GRUFFtalk listeners are primarily women in midlife, some men as well. And we all want to know some secrets and some great tips on how we can all age better with health and happiness. I mean, health being the priority. So maybe you can just share a few of your secrets with us today. Could you?
I call it aging into health, because there are a lot of things where I feel I'm more healthy now, though my body hasn't gotten that whole message at 102. It lets me know there are other things to think about. But the fact is that not the fact in my way of looking at life is that there are some ways in which we can allow ourselves to really feel that this life is a wow. I mean, they're hard places.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first secret is life itself. Is living a life is an amazing thing. And so we have this energy that comes in, we call it life. And it's a wonderful, well, it is what it is, okay? Mm-hmm. So we come in with life as our blessing.
Yes.
You know?
We take it for granted, don't we?
Oh, yeah. When I work with the birthing, as I hold that baby's head in my hands, I swear I hear the angels sing. It's that kind of a connection of life that is so important. The first one is we're here for a reason. And that reason is whatever it is for each person. There isn't any one of us that doesn't have a reason. It's trying to find that, or accepting the fact that it's there and realizing that this reason is just what it is. It's my reason for being here, your reason for being here. This is why we're on this dimension at this time. So everything that we do in life has a reason. But every breath we take has a reason. So reason is a really reality of who and what we are. Mm-hmm. And then the second secret is life has to move. If you don't move, life can't grow. It really has to move. As the process of breathing in and out, our body understands that. It moves all the time.
Yes.
But if our awareness, our consciousness doesn't understand that, and we get stuck in places, and we all do at different times, something happens and we get stuck. If we stay stuck in that process and don't move, then we die. Mm-hmm. Life absolutely has to move. And one of the ways in which we can work with that is keeping our body moving at some level. Our body needs to move so that our whole spirit can move. But the fascinating thing about this one aspect of this secret is that when my sister and I were in our 90s and we were talking along and doing things, and I'd stopped finally and I said, Margaret, why in the world do we do this all the time? We'll be talking along and then all of a sudden we'll do this and go right on. And we stopped and looked at each other and we said, yeah, why do we do that? And then we said, who was it that used to do that? And we thought, and together we said, Mama did it. And so we said, okay, why did she do that? Because it was a specific movement like this, and we both did it exactly the same way. And as we both said in turn, kuch parwah nahi, which in Hindustani means, it doesn't mean anything. And we realized that we had gotten through many, many, many difficult things in our life doing just that. Something came along. Somebody said something nasty, and instead of taking it and saying, you hurt my feelings, in which we could get stuck at that place. Or we say, that didn't mean anything. We go on with whatever is going on. Or turn, and as my mother was able to do, was make it more humorous, allowed it's that ability to take life as it is. And there's a Tai Chi movement that goes with this. You take this whatever. I mean, take a divorce, mm-hmm. But whatever it is, some illness or some pain or something that somebody said, or a failure in the work that you've been doing.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be a very trivial thing, or it can be huge in your life. But you can take that in your hand as you're thinking about it, and unconsciously, you just, at this point, that just doesn't mean anything. it's kuchparwane, it's not important, and you let it go. In that way, it's not, you don't get over things that are really hard. You live through them.
You live through them.
And that's a really big secret, that if you try to just deny them and think that, oh, well, I got over that, you work with this big ambiguous pain that's lingers there.
So you're saying that that's how people can really help themselves to get unstuck, where they just feel, because you talk about that a lot in your book, you just
Absolutely.
feel like you can't move forward because you're weighted down by, you mentioned a few examples, whether it's work or a divorce or an illness, whatever it is. But if you move and work through it as opposed to denying it.
Well, and sometimes it's a trivial thing. Sometimes it's a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
But trivial things can trip us up too.
Oh, yeah.
And we make enemies because somebody says something and we take that and we make it personal and it damages us. And then we've got an enemy, Well, that's it. It's kuchparwana. You just don't need that enemy.
Right.
Or whatever, however you structure the process of life that's going on. So that's that secret. And the third one is love. Love is the great healer. It's essential to all healing.
Mm-hmm.
It's pivotal. I have 5 L's that I speak about in relationship to this. And the first 2, life and love, are together. They are actually, one can't work with the other.
Mm-hmm.
The life is like a seed in the pyramid, where it's been there for 5,000 years, but it can't do anything. It's got all the energy of the universe within it, but it has a shell around it, and it can't do anything until love, which would be water and energy and so on, finds it and works with it and takes the shell, and you get life and love combining.
Yes.
It's like the sperm and the ovum. These two, life and love, are things that need to work together. And with that, it does all kinds of amazing things to your whole life. And the third L is laughter.
Mm-hmm.
Laughter without love is cruel, it's cold, it's mean. But laughter with love is joy and happiness. The fourth one is labor. Labor without love is, oh man, I got to go to work, or too many diapers, or, now what? It's that kind of life is just a labor, just dragging ourselves through it.
And sounds joyless, right? No joy.
Yes. But labor with love is bliss. It's what you do, what you do. It's what I do, what I do. It's the singer. It's the painter. It's the writer. It's that part of our being that says, this is part of me. This is the inner part of me. So that's bliss. That's why we do it. You wouldn't put in the amount of time and energy and everything else that you do unless it had that essence to it. And the fifth one, it's listening. Listening,
so important.
Without love is the clanging gong. It's empty sound. It doesn't mean anything. But listening with love is understanding. That's how we understand ourselves and we understand others, and life goes on. So this is where love is the pivotal, central aspect of all healing. And anyway, God is love.
God is love.
Mm-hmm.
In your book, you encourage your readers to keep moving and then steer clear of the old belief that you should conserve your energy. Like, oh, I'm getting older, so I shouldn't be moving as much. I should be conserving my energy. But you really debunk that myth. Talk about that a little bit.
Yes. Well, I say use your energy wildly. In other words, don't try to think you can bank it like you can money, or that you can store it in a drawer and come back to it somehow. It has to move, so you have to keep going. You have to keep using it. However, that is such an amazing thing that we take so casually, and we absolutely don't understand. If a doctor tells you to go home and rest, and you do that because that's doing something, it's not doing something. It's not working with your energy. But if there's a process, and part of the healing is taking time to rest, like crying out loud, going to sleep and taking and all of that, but we misinterpret that, and we think, well, the doctor told me to rest, so I'm just not going to do anything. And I'm going to save my energy, and when I get it back, then I'll do something. It doesn't work like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you find yourself stuck in a spot like that, and it happens, I mean, I'm not criticizing somebody. It can happen.
Sure.
And when you find yourself there, if you wake it up and just start moving anything, maybe you just pick up a pencil and start doodling. Maybe you get up and walk around your living room and think of what. Maybe you just go out and sit and look at a rose or what. You get your body moving. Your body has to understand that you understand that it has to move.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you get this combination going and you move.
When I posted on social media that we would be having this conversation today, a lot of people sent in questions for you, and so many. And quite a few, and I kind of consolidated some of them, but quite a few people, for example, in the intro to your book, you say, I'm paraphrasing you, I do have the book in front of me, which I'm going to hold up. Here is the fabulous book that I'm going to reread. I just loved it so much. But you do say, here I am, I'm 102, a life filled with health and happiness. And, I'm sure you want to know the secrets. And I don't run marathons. In fact, I don't even run. So, that kind of, people want to know, what do you do? Like, what have you done to get you to where you are now? Have you done exercise? And if so, what do you recommend? And they also want to know, what's your daily eating like? What do you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Can you talk about that?
Oh, sure. I have raisin bran with 4 prunes.
Oh, that's brilliant. Prunes are an amazing thing and very underrated. They're good for your bones. They have calcium and they're also fiber. So, and I like prunes. So yay. Yeah. And I like raisin bran too. Continue.
Yeah. And I usually have a big salad for lunch. May have chicken in it.
With some protein in it. Mm-hmm.
I'll have nuts and stuff. Anyway, and then dinner frequently is a soup, but sometimes there's something else. But, when I was having the children and working with them, I'd make a big meatloaf, and we'd have the meatloaf, or I'd have a roast or something like that. Or sometimes, they had sandwiches if I didn't have time. Or
you're a busy lady.
My mother called make do.
Make do.
There are times when you just make do, and you haven't. It's not a failure. It's not you haven't done anything wrong. It's just something that you had to make do. So that's what I eat is food. If a neighbor brings over something that I really don't particularly like, or that I don't particularly think I should eat, I'll thank her very much and explain it to her. But if it's something that is fine, I haven't had one for 10 years, but yeah, I'd love to. In fact, I have a friend who's going to bring me over a nice Indian dinner for us.
Oh, that's lovely.
And so if it's food, I like it, but some food agrees with me and some doesn't.
Sure.
But that doesn't work for everybody.
Exactly
So I
right.
don't have any one thing that says this is what you must do.
Right. One person asked specifically if you follow or have followed at some point in your life the Mediterranean diet, because that just pops up every year as being one of the best ways to eat, which also includes a little bit of wine to it. Of course, olive oil, lots of fruits and vegetables, with being the main source of food as opposed to red meat and the like. You're very aware of the Mediterranean diet. So do you also include alcohol like wine in your life?
I don't particularly like it, so I don't drink it. But the Mediterranean diet is a great diet. The important thing is what works for you.
Yes, that's true. And what makes you feel good.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it may be something that you really never thought of, but yeah, you try it out. Oh, yeah, this is a good one. Mm-hmm. But, it's not something that I say, well, you must have so many calories of such and such. Well, that's very nice and very interesting. And if you need to do that, then that's great.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite? Some people wanted to know this as well. Do you have like a number one favorite secret that you talk about in your book? And of course, you shared a few of them a little while ago. Well, do you have like the number one favorite one? Probably. I'm going to guess. I think it's love. I mean, it could be life too, but I think love is going to be your answer. Am I right?
It's center, yeah. The love is love. If we get first of all, we need to, not first of all, but right along with this, we need to learn to love ourselves. And that's for a lot of us is a very hard thing to do. It's the realization that I really do love you, mm-hmm. And when I grew up in the villages of India, I thought life was perfect. I mean, I had free run and, it was great. But then I went to school and I found out that I was severely dyslexic.
Right.
Dyslexic enough that I had to repeat first grade twice. And that actually I carried with me for years, being unaware that was one of the things that we're calling an analogous damage, a pain. It's something that you've kind of thought you got over, and you really did because you went on with your life and so on. But that scab, that pain is still there.
Yes.
And it took me until I was 93 to even accept my voice, to having any power. I was doing the lectures, I was understanding this, but I would refer to somebody else. I would say, well, Bill said this, or Rose said that, or somebody else. I was constantly deflecting it because I didn't think my voice had any power to it. Or it was, I don't know what I thought, but I didn't give it the value that it had. And so I actually, when I was 93, realized that if I kept deflecting that, I was denying the things that I was saying because the power was taken away from them. Because I really couldn't read or write. And when we started the American Holistic Medical Association, one time there were 10 of us doctors sitting around a table, and we realized in the conversation that 6 of us were severely dyslexic.
Wow.
And when we realized that, we thought, well, that must be why we realized that there had to be an alternative way to work and deal with healing. Because I don't know how I learned to read. I mean, I really, at this point in my life, don't know how I learned to read, but I did.
Incredible.
And that's what they said, too. We tried to explain to each other, how we couldn't do it. So we have these issues that we deal with in life, and we someplace along the line, when we begin to really understand how we love ourselves, and that's what was missing in this. I was really still stuck in first grade with the dummy. I mean, I was a class dummy. The teacher treated me like that. The kids treated me like that. I fought them all and all of this. But then when I was 93, I had a dream. And see, dreams are very helpful for me. They've always been.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, I woke up on a Sunday morning and I was singing and laughing at the same time as I was coming out of the dream. And I realized that the dream was I was in India. I was seeing myself as 9-year-old Gladys in camp in the jungles of India. And I was coming out of our tent, but I was checking out to see that my younger brother was around because I knew he was going to tattle on me because I was going to do something we weren't allowed to do on a Sunday morning, and this was a Sunday morning because we weren't allowed. The family did not say anything but hymns and bhajans on Sunday mornings.
Mm-hmm.
This was a Sunday morning, and I wanted to sing something else, and I thought it was a stupid rule, and there wasn't anybody could tattle on me, so I could do this. So I run as fast as I can, and I climb the mango tree right up at the top. And I'm sitting there, and I'm singing any old thing I wanted to, Caterpillar song, something else, something. And I look over my right shoulder, and up there in that mango tree is Jesus with me. And I look at him and I says, Jesus loves the little children, right? And he's laughing. He says, yes. So I go on singing, and then I get to thinking, well, I don't know. So I look back and I say, I'm still a little children, right? And he says, yes. So I'm laughing and singing, and I wake up.
Wow.
And that's the point at which I realized that my voice had power. And I was not only that, but I was, the word came down. You can say what you need to say.
Yes.
Because it's important.
And it took you until you were 93.
93.
I know you wrote about that in your book, but that's just remarkable. So what message can you give the women who are listening and men who are listening right now, who many of whom might be feeling that same young person inside that their voices aren't being heard, that they're not giving themselves the love that they should be giving.
Idea.
What's
right.
the message?
They have no idea that the physician within them needs to be loved, because that's what I was denying. I was accepting the things that in my head, I knew were truths. I was preaching those. I was teaching them. I was working with patients with them. These were facts. I understood that all of that stuff I understood, but in my heart, I said, yeah, but look at what you're doing. Yeah, but look at, you can't even read. This kind of stuff, constant put down. But it doesn't matter what age you are.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You can start looking towards your inner being to find out what it is that's really you. It's like my eldest son is a retired orthopedic surgeon, okay?
Right.
Came through Phoenix after he'd gotten all of this amazing training on his way to Del Rio, Texas, where he was going to start his practice. And he said, Mom, I'm going to go there and I'm going to be taking care of people's lives. I'm going to have people's lives in my hands. I don't know if I can handle that. And I said, well, Carl, if you think you're the one that does the healing, you have a right to be scared. But it's your job to do what you have been taught to do, which is amazing. I mean, orthopedic surgery is amazing. I have an artificial hip because at one point when I was 99, I was having trouble with this hip, and it set me free. I can walk really well now. But I said, if you think that you're the one who does the healing, you have a right to be scared. But if you can understand that it's your job to do the amazing stuff that you know how to do, you've been taught how to do, and then support the patient as they do their own healing, you have nothing to be afraid of. But we, each one of us, have to take that into ourselves and realize that within us is the physician within, who I call my colleague. So when I'm working with a patient, I work with my colleague, which is that amazing core of that patient, which knows what I'm talking about, and which, when the patient gets it, when they understand it and begin to realize, say, oh, well, I can do that. Yeah, and this would, and take it on, then we're working together and we're colleagues.
That's a beautiful idea. And I know that people listening in on that will take that to heart and start to view also their relationship with their healthcare providers in a different way.
Oh,
also.
absolutely.
And healthcare providers should be reading your book and hearing that message as well. So
well,
it's like a burden being taken off of their shoulders in so many ways.
I have a granddaughter. In fact, my son John's daughter is a physician in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And last month, and she's in charge of the residents and that kind of thing. She's an amazing osteopath. Anyway, she called together 36 of her colleagues who are women physicians, and I had a chance to talk to them. Now, to me, that was such a wonderful thing to be able to do, you know.
Absolutely.
It's carrying it on. It's the process of life moving on. And then she has this little daughter, Maggie May, who she knew when she was 2. She was a doctor. And so she, all of her dolls are treated in the hospital and so on. But we have Maggie May stories, which are just...
I love that name, Maggie May.
One of the things that's happening right now, I believe, there's some amazing souls who are entering the earth right now, who can really, as we pay attention to what they're saying and what they're doing, we can really, really help what's happened in our country, but a whole world, where the world is terrified. People in this world are so frightened and so damaged. And, it's the whole business of these shootings in the classrooms. I personally think that one of the reasons for that is that with our amazing technology, which I'm not criticizing at all, but when you think about it, a young 17-year-old can watch a movie thing and somebody dies, and the next day they watch it, but he's not dead. He comes back. And then the next day he comes back. And the next day he comes back. So what's death anyway?
Yeah.
Well, what do they know about death? If they have had a dog or a cat or a pet that died, they would know about death. If somebody in the family knew about death, they would know about. But if they haven't experienced death,
right,
they would not know what it is to die. So if giving guns to teachers, that doesn't help anything. I have come up with the concept that what we really could do is have guardian dogs in the classroom. If we had dogs who understood the children, and in fact, it would start a whole new profession. You'd have to have hypoallergenic dogs.
Right.
You'd have to have dogs that are trained properly to do this. The trainers would have to know, the teachers would have to know, the parents would have to know, the kids would have to know. You would have a focus of love and healing in the classroom, which I think, I have no reason to say this except that I think it is. I think these young people who are doing this, I don't think they know anything about death. I don't think that they have personally experienced what it is to have someone that you really love die. If they haven't, then what do they know? They don't think this is so bad.
Mm-hmm.
When I was working on this book, one day I had a colleague, we were working together on trying to express things. We spent over 2 hours trying to say what love is.
Mm-hmm.
And we couldn't get anything. And we decided, there's songs written about it, books written about it, pictures painted about it, all kinds of things. But if you've never experienced love, you don't know what it is.
No.
It's like asking a person who's been blind since childhood to tell them about the color green. How do you explain that? They can't understand it. But if in the whole scheme of things, we could actually have something in the classroom that was lovable. I mean, you put a dog in a classroom, you got love personified there.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Gladys, right now as we speak, my dog, Pete, he's a Brittany, a rescue. He turned 10 yesterday. Happy birthday, Pete. Yay. He's always in the room with me when I'm recording my episode. I'm looking at him right now. He's sleeping. And I couldn't agree more with you. I mean, could you imagine a dog that is just all it wants is love, all it hopefully knows is love, and the love it gets from everyone around him or her would be a very positive thing.
Oh,
remarkable. I've never thought of such a thing. Have you actually proposed it to anyone in power who could make something like that?
I talk about it all the time. I'm waiting for somebody to catch on and make it happen. But I had the Edgar Cayce study group. There was a friend of mine, well, for a long time, and she died. But she was a school teacher, and she's the one who brought this up. One day we were talking about another shooting, and she said, when she was a teacher, she was a math teacher. One year she had a dog in her classroom. She said it was the best year she ever had. If there was a child who was troubled, that dog stuck by that child. If there was a child who was afraid of dogs, that dog would have nothing to do with that child until the child came up and started petting them.
Until the child was ready. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This whole process, and we know that we're using them for
therapy dogs. I mean, yes, they're already being trained for those purposes.
Can't use them in a classroom where we've got this horrible epidemic going on. I think it's a great idea.
And it would give kids what child at this point in this country, really around the world, isn't familiar with the number of shootings that are taking place? Even little ones are hearing it. It's hard to miss. And having a dog in the classroom would just offer a level of comfort and a feeling of protection as well as love.
Right. And some children come from homes where love isn't available.
Yeah.
For them. We have a lot of damaged people in our lives. But if you had a dog in the classroom, the dog doesn't care, except the dog loves you. And when you focus on love itself heals. Mm-hmm. And if you have had no love in your life, or if the love has been damaged that you've had in your life, and you don't know about, this goes on and on, but I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea. And I hope that someone listening and then who will read the blog post that will accompany this, where I will highlight this idea that you have, will take it and do something with it.
That's what I'm praying for.
No, I think this is a brilliant idea. And we also know there are so many dogs out there who could use a good home, who could use a job. And that's something else, too, I learned when my husband and I first adopted our first rescue dog, Gunther, also a Brittany, we were told that dogs specifically, each dog needs a job. They're happiest when they have a job to do.
Yeah.
Not only when they're getting love and giving love, but a job.
Right.
And that's if they feel like there's the purpose to their lives, just like us. We want purpose in our lives. That's important.
And we'd give them a title. They're guardian dogs.
Okay. Great idea. I just want to get back to one thing, your story, which is so remarkable, about almost like your reawakening when you were 93 and moving through that very big obstacle that you almost didn't realize was there.
No.
Amazing.
Ambiguous loss.
Yeah. Until you had this dream. So is that when you decided to write this book?
Oh, I think I'd been trying to write this for a long time because I'd written medical things that I thought were important in the medical field.
Right.
Basic essence of what I was talking about, I hadn't been able to write. So, no, probably.
Yeah. And it just sounds to me as though probably your mind opened up so much more after that dream and after you kind of worked through that obstacle, that challenge, just to share all of this. And you're a truly wonderful book. I love your book so much. I'm a groupie. So this really was a remarkable conversation. And I do have one more question. Everyone asks that. Like some people want to know what's your number one favorite secret. And we talked about that. Love really is. But is there, I know this is a hard question though, but let's try. Is there one thing that you would tell all the Gruff Talk listeners to do that you believe will help them to age better? Starting like something they can do right now, today. Is there that one thing?
Look in your mirror, see yourself as you see yourself, and love yourself. Because really, if you're going to love other people, you have to first love yourself. And it took a long time for me to get that at the depth level that it had to be because of the work that I was doing. But loving what other people are telling you to do, it's loving what it is that you actually know in your core is the reason you came, the message that you have, and the message that you've been sharing probably for a lot of people, but kind of not really, that's what I'm saying, but am I really doing that? And then face yourself and say, yes, that's my message. And I will say it. And you may get, I was called a witch doctor and all kinds of things. It's not particularly nice, but then there's also the Kuchburwani. That doesn't matter what names are given to you or anything, but just be sure that it's not just something fancy and wackadoodle, but something that really makes your heart sing. You do this because you can't help but doing it.
Thank you for that. Yes, this is your mission in life.
Right. It's your bliss. It really, you need to do it.
And you started our conversation talking about that, really how and you believe, and I believe this too, that we have all been put here for a reason. And I think our life goal should be to really understand what that reason is. It doesn't always come to us right away, does it? It can take a lifetime to figure that out.
Working at it and keep working at it, and finally, okay.
Okay. So that's what I should be doing. Oh, thank you so much. This was absolutely wonderful. And Dr. Gladys, we are doing a book giveaway. My listeners were very excited about that. And the details, everyone, about how to enter the book giveaway of Dr. Gladys's book, The Well-Lived Life, is in the show notes, will be on my website. But basically, I want you all to share this episode with as many people as possible, because I really want to see Dr. Gladys's message and mission and her words of wisdom to be shared with as many people as possible. So that's what I'm really asking everyone to do. And when you do that, the details are in the show notes, as I said, about how you can enter to win a copy of her book, which you will love as much as I do. So, Dr. Gladys, thank you so much. Dr. Gladys McGarey, I am delighted, honored that you joined me today.
And me too. I'm honored to be asked to do this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode of Gruff Talk, please do 2 things. First, share it with all your friends and family, and subscribe to Gruff Talk wherever you listen to podcasts, including YouTube, so you never miss a single episode. Until next time, remember this: we can't control getting older, but we can control how we do it. Talk to you soon. Age Better Podcast is a proud member of the Sound Advice Network. Sound Advice, women's voices amplified.